your host, Keenan Hudson. It's all good. Empowering creators. Yes, Brother Will. Yes, he's live here on the Reentry Connect podcast. He's going to be sharing a lot of things. So y'all going to want to have to tune in to everything that's going on. But before we continue, I got to give a shout out to Mel Wells at One Day at a Time. Yes, ODAT, who that? ODAT, yes indeed. At 215-226-7860. We appreciate you, Mel Wells, for all the reentry support, all the recovery support, and everything else. Feel free to reach out to them. Without further ado, we got to actually give a shout out to GPStransportation.net, one of the best transportation companies in the city. Yes, Tri-State, anywhere you want to go. Feel free to reach out to them as well. Mention my name to get some great rates. But without further ado, you already know I got to get back to this program. This program is going to be very powerful. Brother Will Thomas, thank you for coming on, man. Please introduce yourself, man, and tell us where you are from.
Keenan, yo, I'm really grateful to be here, bro. Appreciate you having me on the platform. Man, yo, I'm Will Thomas, man, co-founder of REC, entrepreneur, proud, citizen here of the city, man. My family's from Germantown, so I'm from, Wayne Junction up there, and God has allowed me to really spend most of my life serving here, in the city as a leader in the creative space. Built a company started in North Philly, man, in 9th and Dolphin, and have been able to take it here to 9th and Market. As most of us Philadelphians would know, this place is the Gallery. Now they call it the Fashion District, so we doing our thing.
So before you continue that, before you get into the, what has happened, man, for you, the big, the big bang, which that REC Philly is, we want to know, what was it like growing up in the city? Because everybody may look at you and say, well, Will had everything given to him. Somebody helped him get to where he was, and he had a mom and a dad in his life and things like that. But little to know, people don't even know your story.
Yeah.
So can you go ahead and share about yourself, about your upbringing? How was life?
Yeah. I mean, look, to what you mentioned, I've definitely had, people support the journey along the way. Like, I'm definitely not one of those people who believe in that idea of being self-made. I think we're all community made, for real. But as far as like my upbringing, man, you talk about growing up with the parents, the mom and the dad, like, nah, man, my story is similar to, unfortunately, a lot of young people's stories, if you're from here in the city, which is, I was born in 91, which was right after, the 80s, which was a wild time in the city. And, behind a lot of that, I grew up with a mother who, was navigating and struggling with a drug addiction for almost my entire life. My father has now served 26 years incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up navigating that, taking them trips upstate, consistently, trying to figure that out, trying to, navigate growing up without my pop, and just trying to understand what that would look like. So I was raised by my grandmother, you know what I'm saying? So it was super humble beginnings, but fortunate to say, I grew up in a household with a ton of love, not a lot of resources, but a ton of love, So yeah, man, so that's what it looked like, and I did get an opportunity to go to high school outside the city, which kind of gave me a different perspective, on what I was experiencing, as I'm still spending most of my time in the city, church in the city and all that. But yeah, man, we just figured it out. And
you figured it out. Wow. So here it is. You had a fatherless home. So you were looking at an example. Not saying that your father was a bad example, but you're looking at an example like, wow, I'm just seconds away from being in a place like this. But by you going and visiting, was your father a mentor to you from behind the walls?
Man, it took for me to really grow up, mature, and do a lot of healing before I could allow that relationship to be one as a mentor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if I'm being honest, just looking back, like, I don't know, I was angry. You know what I'm saying? When I was coming up, so I didn't really think that there was a lot of value that I could take out of that relationship when I was a kid. So, and it wasn't just my pop, right? It was like I grew up with my pop and my uncles all in a similar space where, like, again, being from Germantown, I had an uncle who was murdered at 16. My pop, was sentenced to a 30 to 60. I had another pop who was serving, or another uncle who was serving life, you know what I mean, who unfortunately passed away inside. So I'm looking at all the men in my family and really just kind of running and being like, yo, I see where they're at. I see what the reality of this life could be. Just, trying to navigate the inner city. I'm trying to go this way. You know what I mean? So at that point, it was almost like I had a clear picture of what I didn't want. But it really just took for me to get a bit older and then rebuild that relationship with my pop. And fortunately now that's my guy. You know what I mean? We're talking almost every other day, and it is, what it needs to be. But
That's cool.
maturity, with maturity, that comes.
And that's what's up. And that was a mature response that you've given, because a lot of people think they can rekindle a relationship just by seeing their father, just by seeing their parent inside a prison, but it doesn't work like that, because time does heal. You know what I mean? So moving on to far as the next question.
I'm gonna just say this, Keenan, because I'm a big proponent of this. Time heals, but so does therapy, and so does faith. Like I'm gonna keep it real, bro. I think anyone who's navigated life that like you and I may have, bro, like there's such immense value in therapy. Like really like working through some of what we've experienced with professionals who actually like can help navigate these conversations, can help us navigate what we're feeling, help put real language to it. I think we don't lean into it enough, especially as Black people. So I just want to name that right off rip, man. Like, I feel like for me, getting an opportunity to experience therapy and go through that, it became a superpower for me, where I really got an opportunity to like, I feel like we all walk around with these invisible backpacks of all this stuff, right? From trauma, and that really informs how we show up. But when you can do the work and start to unpack that and release some of that, you could really take flight after that. So.
And that's deep. That's deep right there. So even before, like when you mentioned about the trauma, you mentioned about the therapy, which is a great thing. So before you even reached the point of understanding what therapy was, who were the figures you were surrounding yourself with in the streets? Before it came to you, hosting parties and doing different events and things like that. Like when did that take place?
Yeah. So look, I'll say this. Art came into my life super early, just trying to navigate everything I was dealing with my family, trying to figure out who I was. It was art, poetry, it was hip hop, it was dancing, it was shooting videos. Like that was how I kind of just escaped from a lot of stuff and also just expressed, and honestly, I think that set me off on a trajectory where I was like, yo, I like how I feel when I'm expressing myself in this way. I like how I feel when I'm with other creative people. So at that point, as a young kid, it was like, yo, well, how do I build a life for myself where I could stay around art, stay around creativity, which really started to shape that. Outside of that, man, like I'll tell you, I was raised with my grandmother and she wasn't playing no games. Like after losing what, 3, I guess really 4 sons to the street, she was like, yo, I got to keep you up out of the way. You know what I mean? So at that point, it was like, I'm in the library after school every day. You know what I'm saying? Or we at church with it, and like I really built a lot of my leadership skills in the church, that was just her way of just keeping me out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's what that looked like, man. And then when I really got a chance to go away to school, and I really just buried myself in education because, that was the way out for us, right? Like a lot of people, that's how we think about it. And I got into some situations where like I got my hand on a camera, and I really started to see the opportunity, that I'd have by shooting music videos for my homies and seeing them light up because they finally see themselves larger than life, right? Because we made something that mattered, that they could share. So that's what it looked like early on. And then as I really got good at the skill set, it started to open doors.
It opened doors. Wow. And that's powerful. And it's, it's very profound that that you grew up, with your grandmother, having that structure, having that support, because a lot of young people today, that want to be creators, that want to pick up that camera, that want to get behind a microphone, don't
Hmm.
really have that support.
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? They don't have the money to afford, you know what I mean? And
Right.
even if they do steal the equipment, it's like they don't have the money to learn how
That's
to
right.
use it.
Hmm.
So if you can, when you spoke on education,
Hmm.
explain to the people, if you can, why education is so important, especially for the young people today.
Oh man, yo, education is everything, bro. And I'm not, when I say education, like I'm
Yeah.
not saying specifically just like
Mhm.
traditional schooling,
Yeah.
but education, like learning and really like falling in love with learning and getting better and growing every day. That's everything. Some of the most important things I've ever learned, I learned on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I call it
Wow.
YouTube University. You
There you
feel
go.
me?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that idea of leaning into education is key, because someone says, there's a beautiful quote that I've always remembered. They say, a mind that's been expanded can never return back to its original shape, right? And the
Wow.
whole idea there is like the power of exposure. When you start to learn new concepts, when you really get to see how the world works, when you really get to understand how you work,
Yeah.
it puts you in a position to do things that you never thought was possible for yourself, and
Wow.
sometimes that only takes exposure, right? For
Totally.
example, I'll tell you, man, like one of my favorite things that I experience here at Rec is when a young person, a young creative walks into our space here, right down
Yeah.
here at Ninth Market.
Okay.
Walk in, bro, and they see the space and they look at me knowing that I'm one of the owners, and they're literally like, yo, like just because I'm here, I rethink what's possible for myself because I
Wow.
see what's here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. Because I know, man, it's been so true for me and so many people that I've come up with, that I've seen.
Mhm, mhm.
The right resource at the right time in the right hands could change your life.
There you go. Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's it.
so it
Mhm.
really just comes down to the first, that education,
Yeah.
um, and really wanting it. Everything
Mm.
else becomes possible after that.
That's powerful, powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
and now, if you can, because I know a lot of people are definitely wanting somebody. Bayak Thomas right here. He said, "No doubt, education is our way out. Please pay
100%.
attention." Absolutely, Bayak. Appreciate that. So, if you can walk us through the journey now of when post Rec City, Rec Philly,
Mhm.
when you started this whole thing at a certain place down North Philly. Could you walk us through that? How all this came
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, I'll set it up. I'll give you a little bit before what was
Okay.
going on and then
Okay.
how we
Cool.
got there. So,
Mhm.
long story short, I had an opportunity to go away to school. I studied communications media, minored in economics. Really, to be honest with you, just because I want to understand how money worked for real, for real.
Okay. Okay.
I'm like, it's crazy. A lot of people I know ain't got no money, but I hear it's a lot of money out here. How does that work, right? So I
Mhm.
studied economics, which is really helpful in just helping frame my mind, right, on what the
Mhm.
economy was. Um, and then when I got out of school, and to be transparent with you, I actually left school early. I did not graduate; it was just a few credits away. Long story short, but I came home, man, and I immediately just put everything I had into the grind, right? I'm again running around, I'm shooting music videos and
Mhm.
throwing events. I've always been a community builder, so throwing parties and shows and really just doing everything I could to help my creative friends who were
Mhm.
rappers, singers, and artists. And quickly I realized that as my business partner Dave and I, we were running around, went to high school together, and both had a passion for media and art. As we were throwing these parties, as we're throwing these shows, a lot of the artists in Philly who were dope that we loved kept
Mhm.
believing in this narrative that they had no other choice but to go to New York or to go to LA if they were going to be successful.
Wow.
And that never really set well with us. We're like, yo, like you could do it here. First
Mhm.
off, we all got one of these, right? And we can get on the internet and be able to connect with the people who love
Mhm.
our art, love what we create. But what it came down to, man, was people felt like they had to go to those places because in their mind, that's where the resources were, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in their mind, it's like that's where the people are that can help me actually make some money through my talent. Or, yo, that's where the serious creators are, the serious artists.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I mean, honestly, there's some serious artists here. There's some real resources here, right? The information is here, but there's
Yeah.
no one place that people could easily just tap into to find those things when they needed them. So, long story short, I took a real risk, man, and we say, yo, like we got to build a space. And we use what we had at the time, and somebody made me hip to this old window factory up in North at Ninth and Dolphin. You know,
Knife and Dolphin.
Ninth and Dolphin, bro.
Okay.
And Philly got a lot of these big warehouses that they be trying to just do something else with. And for real, like sometimes only artists are willing to take whatever's there and try to make it something.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a room in this old window factory. It was about 600 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we was getting it, man. Like I had a backdrop that I put up because I was shooting videos at that time. So I had backdrop and lights. We built a recording studio for my homie Leonzo, who was
Mm-hmm.
spitting at that time. And then we had a couch. And that's
Wow.
just where it was at, man. That was our way of staying out of trouble. That's where we was creating all the things that came to mind. And what happened was over the course of, just the first few months, even all of our homies who would come through, they never wanted to leave. And at that point, I'm realizing, I'm like, yo, there's something here. Like, there's a reason why we all want to be here. And mind you, like, it wasn't sexy, Keenan. Like, we was walking up 4 flights of stairs. We ain't had no heat in there. We ain't have no AC.
Oh wow.
It was hot outside. It was hot in there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But we were educating ourselves on what it looked like to be entrepreneurs. We were creating every single day. And that's when we really got the vision. And really God was like, yo, like space. Like if your homies is gonna keep coming, rent is definitely gonna keep coming. So if we could all pitch up, instead of us all investing in the same couple tools, spending a couple $100 to do this or that, we could all pitch up and we can invest in real tools. We can invest in being able to really go pay industry experts to come in and share what they know with us. And that's how it started. It started with 30 members in this warehouse in North Philly. And over the next few years, that went from 30 people to over 320. And at that point, it gave us the confidence to be like, yo, we can do this for real. And
so you went to the 320 members in the warehouse.
In the warehouse. And I'm like, yo, we had Ninth and Dolphin. I got 300 cats coming through consistently in the studios. And that helped us go from that one room to then eventually we had 7 rooms in that warehouse.
What?
We had a dedicated visual lab and we had 2 recording studios in there. And we had a conference room in there. We had a co-working space in there. We had pretty much the whole floor, at that time. And I'm like running around on YouTube trying to figure out how do we raise money so we can actually do this in a real way. And, God gave us the opportunity, man, one time. I'm skipping kind of some parts of the story, but, and let me know anything you want me to dive into further.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Wherever you
but one time we had an opportunity to come and see their plans for what was going to become the fashion district. And they showed us this one space and they were like, look, we actually don't have a tenant for this space. And, we're really looking for someone to take it over. And none of the retailers really want it because there's this like gray box in the middle, So we're looking for something local, something artsy. And we're like, well, what's in the gray box? And they go, it's a freight elevator. And we're like, an elevator? That's crazy. Because right now I got homies that's going to the studio and they carrying amps up 4 flights of stairs. We would love the elevator. You know what I'm saying? And look, man, we went back to our team, Dave and I, that night, and we're like, yo, we got an opportunity. We can go to the fashion district. Had no idea how we were going to afford it. We definitely didn't have the money for it. But we got on YouTube University, figured out how to raise some capital. And about a year later, we were able to raise over $1 million to build out what is now a state-of-the-art facility here in Center City.
State-of-the-art, and that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So continuing on.
Yeah.
You made the transition.
Yeah.
Now, did you have to remodel, or was everything just in place right for you? Like, how was the floor plan? What was going on with that?
When you walk into Rec, every single wall you see in this space we built. Like this was not something that was already here and we just painted and said, let's go. Like we designed everything. And like when I tell you, Keenan, like I really want people to understand, like this was just an empty box. Like, did we know anything about architecture and designing spaces when we started? No, but we learned. Did we know what it meant to manage $1 million construction budget and hire GCs? No, but we learned, right? So when we go back to the importance of education, I'm gonna just say this, especially for young people. This is for anybody, but especially for young people. The most important part of education is not even just learning, but it's learning how to learn. Right? Like it's really about that. So when they be like, oh, school is corny, yada, it's like it don't matter what you learning while you're in school, but you gotta learn how to learn, because that's gonna be the best skill that you can take with you later. So for me as an entrepreneur, man, my job looks different every day. But one of the things that I'll put money on the house, me against whoever, is like, if you tell me there's something I gotta learn, I know how to get up in a book and figure it out, and I'm gonna learn it. And that gives me the confidence to try things that I've never done. So again, architecture and construction management and, hiring staff and figuring out payroll and all that stuff. Like I didn't have my pop to teach me that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But I learned how to learn, so now it's like we just figure it out. But, to answer your question, man, no, man, we built all of this, bro. Like all of this started here in our mind.
First it was a thought.
It was a thought. And we were crazy enough to believe that we could make it into a real thing. And now here it is, bro. I'm sitting in one of the studios right now.
Sitting in one of the studios. So now from the 300, you transitioned to Rec Philly. And now you've been in Rec Philly for how many years now?
Yeah, we opened this space in Center City, December of 2019. So, we're coming up on 5 years here already.
5 years. And it grew to what?
We're at about 1,000 active members now.
1,000 active members.
Yeah,
so now you have a space where creators of all different types of ages,
that's right,
ethnicities, cultures, all come here for specific reasons of being a better creator. Because your main mission is empowering creators to win.
That's right.
Right. So if people wanted to be a creator, if people wanted to send their kids there, if organizations wanted to do a tour there, where would these people search? How can they get in contact with Rec Philly so they can do, follow up?
Yeah, I think the best thing for people to do is to go to recphilly.com. You can go to recphilly.com, you can go to joinrec.com. Both will get you to the website. And, we're doing events all the time. So I always tell people, come see us. Like, it's one thing to hear about all the things we're doing, but it's another thing to actually come pull up to the space. Cool. We do open house events once a month where people can come and just vibe with us, party, and learn more about it. And then also we do tours every now and then as well, and info sessions. So there's a lot of different ways for people to get connected and get involved. But the best thing is go to the website, go ahead and apply to be a member. And that's how it works, man. You can become a member of Rec Philly and get access to this entire space. All of our programming that we do, educational program, it's all free. It's included, so it's really just about being able to get access to what you need. And also, Keenan, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is outside of the membership and how people are in the space and they're learning, we've also been able to build a creative agency here. And what that looks like is we get to work with brands, from mom and pop businesses all the way up to some of our clients are Google and Urban Outfitters and Red Bull. And they hire us to do creative campaigns and advertising, marketing campaigns. And when we get those contracts, Keenan, we go right back into our membership base and we hire members to get paid to do what they love. So over the last few years alone, man, we've been able to pay out over $3 million directly into the hands of creatives here in the region. And that's what it's been all about, man. It's been how do we empower people so they can create better, how they can learn more, but most importantly, like get
paid. And that's like, wow, you go into a place to study your craft, but then here it is, you run into some big resources, you know what I'm saying, to compensate you for your work as well. That's powerful. Like, it don't get no better than that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm quite sure that with the right relationship building, You know, keeping the right connections, you know, can take you farther than what your gift is. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people understand that. And without further ado, I want to touch on you being an author.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whoa,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna let you take that over. You being
Yeah,
an
man.
author of this book, man.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I made the decision to publish the book. It's called
Uh-huh.
It's called Uncommon Sense: Your
Wow.
Strategy Guide to Creative Freedom. And really, it came down to this, man. It was just there's so many amazingly talented creatives that I got to work with through Rec.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of creatives. And what I realized is the reason why creatives were not getting where they wanted to go and being as successful as they wanted to be was not because they didn't want to work hard. It was specifically because they didn't always have the clarity of what's the next step to actually get where I'm trying to go. And what I realized over working with creatives for so many years was there was really about 10 main concepts or 10 main ideas that I wish that every creative person understood, that most of the time we didn't. So that's why I called it uncommon sense. It's like, yo, these are the things that I wish was common sense for all of us, but for one or another, they're not. And it comes down to some of the things we talk about all the time, but may not understand, where it's like, what does it really mean to build a powerful brand? Right. So we break that down super simply. And how do I really think about building my target audience? Right. And how do I engage people and really use Instagram and social media instead of letting it use me? Right. Fighting the algorithm. So how do we break these things down, make it super plain and super straightforward? Got all sorts of diagrams in there. It's for us as creatives. And the cool thing is, it's not just a boring book, but in the book, every chapter has exercises that if you do the exercises, it actually helps you build a business plan as a creative to help you structure the business to, again, get that clarity that you need to actually grow and build, not only as an artist, but as a creative entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur on top of that.
Right.
Wow.
That's
So
right.
you're teaching people the business sector of it. That's very important because everybody wants to get paid. They want to be their own boss, but these are some of the steps. So if they wanted to actually purchase this book, where do they go to purchase this?
Yeah, so they can get the book right now. They can go to shop.recphilly.com. You can get it directly from us, as well as, when you pull up in the space, you can also buy them right here on the spot. But we'll ship it to you wherever you are. It's from shop.recphilly.com.
shop.recphilly.com. Now, also, I know a lot of people are, over here on Instagram, people saying that's what's up, Mel Mugga, Mr. Brother Abu Edwards even on here, Ronald Pageant, all these people, they're shouting you out. Trick Weezy says education is paramount. A lot of people over here shouting you out. And I also see people saying, hey, how can they connect with you just in general, even if they don't want to go through Rec Philly? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, hit me up. Look, I always tell people the quickest way to get to me is on Instagram.
Instagram.
Shoot me a DM right there at the Will Toms, THE Will. Last name is Toms, TOMS. I get back to everybody. If you shoot me a message on there, I will respond. Probably quicker than an email sometimes. It is what it is.
That's what's up.
I'm here.
Yeah, and we appreciate you even extending that invitation for someone to reach out to you through Instagram, because a lot of times, and I'm just going to be honest, like from a perspective of us looking at people that are moguls or people that are influencers that have, may have a crazy following and has a lot going on. Sometimes they'll say, hey, reach out to us on social media, but then, they never get back to you. You know what I mean? So it's hard. I understand that there's probably a lot of people being bombarded, with people asking for things and things like that. But we know that, sometimes some people can slow down and check, emails or inboxes and things like that. And we appreciate you extending that invitation. So I want to ask you one more thing. Like if there was something you could motivate, individuals, that are incarcerated, individuals that are going down the wrong track, whether they're in a recovery house or even some young people that's watching right now, just in general, what type of motivational words would you give them right now in general?
Yeah, man, look, I would say this. The most powerful lesson I ever learned is he who says he can and he who says he can't are both correct. And really what that comes down to, what that really means is before you could do anything, you got to be able to see it in your mind, and you got to believe it if you have any chance on bringing it to reality. So no matter where you're at, it's so important to be able to get a clear picture in your mind of where you're trying to go. And, you know, one of my favorite books that speaks to this is a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And really what he talks about is just the importance of thought. You know, like there's so many people I know that talk themselves out of opportunities before they happen, or they tell themselves, you know, yo, I'll never be able to do this. As soon as you say that, you can't. Because what starts to happen is that energy that you put into saying you can't do something then challenges you not to actually take the right steps and actions that can help you actually get it done. So I always just challenge my homies like, yo, he who says he can and he who says he can't, they're both right. So see it in your mind, you know, then believe it. You're already halfway to getting it done.
Wow. And we appreciate, man, you coming on this show. I appreciate it. You know, the Reentry Connect podcast. I'm your host, Keenan Hudson, empowering creators with Brother Will Thompson. We really appreciate you coming out here. I'm telling you. Again, like I said, man, it's so many words, man. You took the time out to do so. But without further ado, like I said, we just want to put your book up here on the screen one more time, just so they know, you know, what your book looks like, you know, Uncommon Sense. And where can they go find it again?
No doubt. Go to shop.recphilly.com. That's REC Philly. And listen, man, for any creative, you're trying to build something, you got a passion, a dream, a vision, and you actually want tangible steps, right, for understanding how to build a business around your passion. That's the strategy guide right there.
That's it, strategy guide. And if there's anything else or anybody you want to shout out, please go ahead and do so now.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Look, I gotta shout out my Rec Philly team. You know, I'm the guy who gets to talk a lot about what we do and kind of wave the flag, but there's a lot of us who work really hard every day to make this thing work. So I gotta just shout out the whole Rec Philly staff and our squad, and also our community. You know, we wouldn't be who we are and what we are without the actual community of people who pull up and they create in here. They doing what this thing was meant to do. I'm gonna shout out all my rec members, and then you know I gotta shout out the fan, man. That's the support system, you know, above all else. And I gotta thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man. You know, he hold me down every day. So that's it, man. That's all I got.
That's it, and that's it. I appreciate that, man. We always know that, you know. Again, the creators first, man. In anybody's life, man. That's what makes it possible. But without further ado, we're gonna get ready to go ahead and end this broadcast. Again, I'm your host, Keenan Hudson. But next time, Brother Will, we appreciate you. You take care, be safe. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate